Simone, great to see you. Welcome to Popternative.
Thank you so much, Petey. Thanks for
One
having
of
me.
the things I love about a film like Hard Home is I'm just a big fan of watching something that I guess it's just how my brain processes things, but I just love how there's a lot going on. There's a lot of elements and components, right? You got the revenge component, the crime component, the thriller, little kind of freak out moments at times. When you're reading a script for some of it, what element kind of stands out the most, or do like a couple stand out for you specifically?
I think the physicality stood out for me and the mother's revenge, like instead of just letting the law handle it, she goes all out, like literally all out to get this bad guy. And so and usually, usually playing a grieving mother, it's just playing a grieving mother. So this was kind of a one up on that. And that's what attracted me to the role.
Yeah, absolutely. The kind of journey of reading something and then kind of going and filming it, so much kind of happens when you're kind of, you know, exploring this character on script and then seeing it come to life on screen. What was that journey like for you specifically with this film, kind of from script to screen, so to speak?
Well, I think getting fit, it's a very active role and very different from anything I've played before. So that was that. I really wanted to get fit and strong, but also learn more combat stage craft. And also James Bamford, who directed it, that's his background. So action stunts, everything like that. And I thought this is a really great opportunity to learn more as an actor. And I'm always working in an American accent, but those things don't phase me anymore. What phased me is the fact that if I could physically do it, if
Mhm.
I was strong enough, to do it. And I really embraced it. I remember the day I was at home doing weights and training, and I did a little fight sequence video and I sent it to James Bamford on an email, and he goes, "Yeah, getting there," was his response. And I was like, "Oh no. Oh, I can't do this. Oh my God, this is terrible." But then I got there and we made it work, and it was a great stunt team and the crew and everybody was amazing.
No, absolutely. Um, so much happens before you go to camera on a project. There's, like you said, all the preparation, the fitting. Like, I find that so interesting. So, in a lot of ways, from a storytelling acting perspective, you could see it as two journeys, right? Before filming something and then after filming something. Did you see it as two separate journeys, or did you see it as one big journey with multiple steps in between from an acting storyteller perspective?
That's a great question. I think I see it as multiple. I really do. I'm like, okay, I have my list of what I need to get through, where I need to go. As you can tell from this kind of film, this thriller, horror, whatever genre you want to call it,
Genre
she goes,
bending movie.
it's genre bending. It's all effed up. So I think I had to kind of tick through. I couldn't kind of consume it as one whole. I had to actually bite it off in chunks.
Mhm.
And once I felt confident physically, the acting's my jam. That's my wheelhouse. I had that I'm down with, but the constant stunts. I mean, there were a couple of times where I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. But all the running, like all the stuff through the forest, all of that stuff, all the running. There's a scene where I run to the car and he grabs me and throws me down. That was all me. And so there were days when I was like, stop it, stop doing so much. We've got an amazing double for you. But there were also days when I was like, no, I need to keep pushing and challenging myself.
No,
So yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
And it's it all you have to do, especially with a film like this, is you just have to take it day by day. But I feel like it's so hard sometimes not to like think about like the next week or like
Well, especially when she's in every scene pretty
yeah,
much, right?
yeah. I
And
was
so
about to say you're like in the
the
movie.
whole film, it should be called Hard Mary. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I was like, "Come on, guys, give me a break here. I'm breaking," and every day I get the call sheet and I'd be number 1, number, and I was like, "Oh my God, can I do it?" But I think the experience of James Bamford, the crew, they knew how to just shoot it in parts.
Yes.
But yeah, it was a big role, and afterwards I was fried. I was
Mhm.
man, and yeah, well, you see that.
Absolutely. Naturally, it's this is like the answer to this question is yes, because like, or maybe actually no, because it's past projects. Like, I'm just wondering how separate are past journeys and projects that you've worked on compared to kind of new projects like this one specifically, mindset wise, preparation wise. Like, do you ever bring things from something like Yellowjackets to, Hard Home? Or are they very like separate kind of mindset wise, character wise, preparation wise? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question because I think you take a little bit of something from every character, right? So
Yeah.
the experience, we want to generalize it and call it experience.
Hmm.
You take that and then oh, I can play that. Oh, I've got that emotion in my toolbox,
Hmm.
And when you've watched an actor again and again in different roles, you're like, I know what she's doing. Sometimes actors get lazy, so you're like, oh, I know this little trick, or I can do this. But I think I have been a consistently working actress in Australia, New Zealand, America, Canada, everywhere. Bulgaria, we shot this, and so I think I learned from everyone, but it's just a bigger range, I guess you
Yeah.
get. Yeah, you can't compare this role to the cult leader of Lottie and Yellowjackets, and then playing Rhea Organa's mother in Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like they're so vastly different, and so yeah, I think I do take a little bit of that from every character,
Mhm.
and then I throw in a shitload of Simone.
I think I love the fact that like there's some questions that I always frequently ask, like the journey question or that question. And I just love, answers like that. Just keep that question alive because it's like sometimes you just get like, depending, because to each their own, right? Like different people have different ways of looking at things. And some people are just like, no, like they're separate, right? Like when I wrap something, it's done. That character is kind of put away a little bit. And maybe it comes back, but mostly it doesn't. But that's like the best answer.
Yeah, and also you have to delete it. Like when you're
Yeah.
cleaning space on your computer, I have to delete that shit because I do not want to carry that around, especially this film. I do not want that in my cells,
Mhm.
and so I often kind of, I had to be really angry, really ferocious throughout that film and scared. And you're
Mhm.
giving your body this constant adrenaline kick, and
Mhm.
and yeah, I want to shed that shit when I finish for sure.
No, absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned the Yellow Jackets, Buzz Buzz. That show is just wild. Like this movie, they're similar where they're both like crazy and wild and 0 to
Yeah,
100. So there's that
well,
too, right?
well, right now I'm actually filming Yellowjackets and another show
Yes.
for Apple called The Last Frontier, and I'm bouncing between Montreal and Vancouver. That
Mm.
is like a gear shift. Like I have to not look at, like
But
playing
now and
complete.
now you're doing press for a movie you already filmed, but it's
Yeah,
like coming up. It's like, yeah, it's a lot.
and my brain's going, hold on, where are we? But yeah, it's well, how blessed and grateful I am, man. How lucky.
Everyone is so excited for the new season of Yellow Jackets, and it's so crazy because I've interviewed a lot of your cast, and it's just kind of one of those like, what's gonna happen season 3? I mean, it's like all we know is that it's gonna be wild. That's all we know, and that's
It's
enough for
it's
me.
gonna be wild, and I mean, the crazy thing about it is they don't give us like episode 10. We
Mhm.
get it, every couple of weeks, and that's kind of crazy. The show I'm doing for Apple at the moment, The Last Frontier, we got all 10 episodes up front,
Yeah,
so I could trace my art. I was like, oh, okay, there she goes. But with Yellow Jackets, it's just a surprise. So what you guys then see on the screen, we also have experienced when we're turning the pages.
yeah, absolutely. Well, that's
Yeah.
actually a really good point. Then I'm wondering when you're in the situation where maybe you're starting out as an actor, where you're like, this is what I want to do. Do you think about the fact that like you said there's going to be many different like not only roles or opportunities but situations? Like I find that very interesting, right? Like Yellow Jackets, it's like you're surprised sometimes you don't get them bulk in advance. This show you get them out. Do you think about the fact that it's like you can prepare yourself that every opportunity is going to be different in length, different in process? Like I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, you absolutely do. You go, "Oh, well, I would have chosen to do that scene or that last episode quite differently if I'd known
Mhm.
this is where she goes to." So
Yep.
sometimes, depending on what kind of actor you are, like if you like that prep or if you like to just live in that moment in that scene.
Yeah.
And that's really important as an actor. Like what you're getting right now is purely in that moment.
Mhm.
But sometimes, like with Lottie from Yellow Jacket, she's such a manipulator, right? So sometimes it's good to know the end game and how she gets there.
Mhm.
Um, but then, yeah, with something like Hard Home, it was pretty much what you see is what you get.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
for sure. And I have a couple more questions, but specifically, with Yellow Jackets, it was that big kind of like discussion of after, season 1, like we were going to see older Lottie and everyone was like, "Oh my goodness." You know what I mean? So I'm just wondering, and you could answer this just from a in general perspective, is was it more fun? Was it challenging kind of stepping into a role where like we've seen this character before in some capacity? Like, what did you think about that specifically? Because you were in a unique situation on Yellowjackets, right? Where like we didn't know what to expect in season 2 with your character.
Yeah, and the foundation had already been set with Courtney Eaton playing the younger character of Lottie, and so coming in, they gave me full free range,
Mhm.
basically. Like, we knew the boundaries that she was a cult leader or lived in and worked in a community, and she was out there. But I got to really bring a lot of what I imagined Lottie would be to
Oh,
to it. But yeah, there were big boots, and there was to fill, and I was kind of terrified, and my first day was like 200 extras, and I'm standing on a stage giving this huge sort of sermon, like delivering such a really bringing the character, and I felt, oh my god, people are either going to love this or hate who Lottie is. So
yeah.
that was really difficult, and I just had to, like Lottie, believe that I was in the right zone, and what I was bringing was what we all wanted to see of Lottie.
Yes.
Um, I don't know, and I still don't know.
You do an amazing job as Lottie.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank
So
you.
good. You're such a good storyteller actor. I just want to say that. And I'm a big fan of all your work. And it's an honor and privilege to speak with you, honestly.
That's really
Um,
thank
uh,
you.
last kind of question a little bit before we wrap up for Hard Home. I mean, people are going to be able to see it pretty soon. It's going to be available digitally on June 25th. Takeaway wise, because we kind of started this interview talking about all the elements, and you kind of established that you love the revenge and kind of she's doing what she has to do to get it done and everything. What do you hope they'll get out of it takeaway wise when they watch Hard Home, Simone?
I think it's just pure entertainment.
Yeah.
I think Hard Home is pure entertainment, and I think it's escapism, and I think you can play out all your worst fantasies. If someone has hurt you in any capacity, like this character is going through, you're like, wow. But that said, I don't recommend doing what Mary does.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Do you find sometimes you walk on eggshells in interviews where you just don't want to say much? Like, I feel like is that like the hardest thing about that job? Because press is part of the job of being an actor, but like I feel like
Press is part of the job. Yeah, I mean,
that.
yeah, absolutely. But in order to answer that question then more clearly, I think if this is your genre, if this is your jam, then you're going to go for a ride.
Yes.
But if this kind of film isn't, then it's not. And
Mhm.
and I don't do horror myself personally. I'm not a horror film watcher, right? I
Yeah.
mean, what would you call Yellowjackets? It's kind of.
It's got there's some moments of Yellowjackets. Like I think it was in season 1 with the guy with no eyes.
Oh yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like the horror
It does.
movie stuff.
Yeah, it does tap into the horror for
It
sure.
does, but it's everything. It's a lot. It's supernatural. Like
It's natural, and there's the black comedy, and there's the dramedy of it,
yeah.
so I think there's something in Yellowjackets for everyone. I think something like Hard Home is like, it's a sucker punch,
Oh,
and
absolutely. But
but I
it's
think
so
in
fun.
the end,
It's
you
so
cheer.
funny you mentioned about the horror movies because I am a big horror movie fan, and I think just getting back to like the Lottie and the cult kind of aspect of it, I think that's the scariest stuff in my opinion. Like I watch like movies like dramas or thrillers about cults, and
Yeah.
like that's terrifying. Like they're not horror movies, but they're like terrifying. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah, I do, because these people have given up their entire lives to devote it to one person. That's
Mhm.
terrifying. Like, I would imagine that the followers of Lottie had sold their house, moved, like walked away from everything they know to follow this woman. That is
Mhm.
terrifying
And there
because
is this 50-50 online. The Yellowjackets fans are buzzing. You know what I mean? But like, I don't think Lottie cares about her followers. Some people maybe think she cares about her followers. I don't think she cares about her followers. So it's kind of one of those, right? That's even scarier, right? We're like,
yeah, but it's what version of Lottie?
yes,
There's many hats to Lottie, right? So
yes. Maybe in general, like a
Lottie.
cult leader. Like there's a cult leader care about its followers.
Totally,
Yeah.
and also use Lottie, who really is Lottie?
No,
Ma
absolutely.
and that's the question they ask the whole way through it, right? Who
Yeah.
is Lottie Matthews? Who the fuck is Lottie Matthews, right? So, so it's who is she? Does she? And I think that's what makes it so intriguing to play,
Oh,
because you can bring
absolutely.
anything to that character and it kind of lands. So
Absolutely. No, I can't wait for more of that show, and I can't wait for people to check out, Hard Home. You're such a good job you did such a good job as Mary in this. June 25th, digitally. Simone, it was not our privilege to speak with you. Thank you so much for your time.
you too. Take care. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.